Welcome back to another issue. I'm Beastie Boy,
I'm Table.
I'm Red.
And it is I, Shino Brando.
and for today we'll be doing a giant-sized issue. First, we'll have Shino and Red discuss the temporary finale of Supergirl, and then Table and myself will talk about Bloodshot's origin and the home release. So we'll pass it on to Red and Shino.
All right, let's get this one started. Red, go ahead.
Yo, wait, what? 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 I got.
What do you got on you?
Oh, I got. I've got El Squato.
Squatto. Okay, you're running on me here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, from what I have, because I guess you've never. Have you ever seen Supergirl? Have you ever watched it?
So I watched the first 5 episodes of season 1 because my significant other really likes 1 or 2 CW shows, but doesn't like them all.
Okay.
So she convinced me to watch 2 or 3 episodes.
Okay.
And once I kind of saw how the kind of plot runs and how they
Right.
spend a lot of emotion and try to really drive home character arc,
Yes. Very
as opposed to I just want to see Supergirl punch a thing.
Exactly. And that's the
Since
great
she doesn't
thing.
always punch a thing,
Right.
I became very less interested, and then I went, whoop.
And you fell off.
Yep.
Well, you see, that's the problem here. Well, CBS, when it was on that network, right, it started off something way different than what it is now. This show started off completely separate from the Superman lore, but still in that thread, that vein. It was very much just about her and the cast around her, right? There was a lot of build up, a lot of, like you said, a lot of emotion, a lot of real stuff going down in that show between like her
Right. They
foster
focused a
sister.
lot on her identity.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
the never the two shall meet as a secret
Mhm.
identity.
Exactly. It's the crazy dynamic that she has with her sister Alex that really kind of drove part of that season 2. Getting her realizing her spot because her cousin is the big one, right? He does it.
Right. He
It's
does the
only,
thing.
right. He does the thing. So I mean, it's only right for her to follow in that vein, right? Not totally into the Department of Extra Normal Operations. I don't like that title.
I prefer Shield's big long name as opposed to whatever the heck that is.
That is right. I just don't like it. It's just bad naming convention for that. But it was very much so about identity, hiding the identity. Who's accepted. Even the crazy mystery behind Hank Henshaw. I don't want to spoil anything, right? But like,
If we're still talking season 1, what are we on, season 5 now?
we are on season 5 now. Yeah.
I am sure little droplings of spoilers might be aplenty in this week's double-sized issue.
Well, I mean, hey, okay, so Hank Henshaw is a character, but not a character. Deep down, it's the Martian Manhunter. He's in there, and it plays off a lot of his stuff too, like him being such an outcast compared to like Kara. Kara had the advantage of being just like Clark, being there from a bit younger, as where he has to literally change his form, be a completely different being altogether just to fit in. And he's got a late jump. He's marooned on that planet now, right? So he's just getting used to humans.
Do they keep intact how Martian Manhunter came to Earth?
Very much so. They don't really deviate more from it very
Hey, that's
much,
pretty cool, actually.
right? They do include Megan, Ms. Martian.
God, yeah.
She's in there. She's got a cameo for part of that. I think part of
And
that.
she doesn't say
season.
her catchphase, I'm sure.
No, no, she doesn't. That's strictly YJ only.
And just season 1 too, because they dropped it.
Yeah, they dropped that fast. But the crazy stuff that they had going on, a lot of fan service that they built up to, like especially featuring like a Maxwell Lord instead of Lex Luthor. You know what I mean? Like Maxwell Lord is just as bad as Luthor in every way.
Oh, totally.
And right, and I had like the idea of having him being built up as a feature villain, but then the show suffered and left the CBS, and then from there it just joined the CW, and that show's just
For better or
changed.
for worse.
I see now. I don't want to talk ill of
No,
the
but that's
CW.
the phrase. It's for better or for
Or
worse.
for
It's not a
worse,
question.
right? So CW doesn't like putting too much budget into certain things, right?
Right.
Right. So you can
So
see
how many times in these seasons do we see Martian Manhunter as the Green Martian?
Martian, not very much, and that's the bad part. Like you have a lot of these features in there. Like they used to show a lot of like Silver Banshee. Who else? There's a couple of fan service villains in there. Livewire being another one. But
Cool. Cool.
right? Exactly. But then we get to the CW, and it kind of gets dubbed down.
Well, now they share a budget.
They share a budget, and it's 50-50. Some costumes are great, some costumes are kind of questionable. Some scenes
They're
are
better
kind of,
on pop figures as they are humans.
Yes, exactly. Some of them look, some effects are crazy, some effects are not so great, but I mean, they do what they can with the budget they have now. But again, they had a lot of characters that came and went. Mon El being another one.
I heard rumblings of Mixes Spitlick.
Yeah, him too. A lot of foreshadowing to a lot of old Kryptonian lore, and of course the eventual rise of her cousin coming in to play and be part of the
Right, and
show.
then he comes in and I assume sweeps the show because now that
No, not even. You know what? So the great part about this is they use Superman in the context of the original. Remember the old Justice League cartoon?
of course.
Right, and remember how they kind of not watered down Superman, but kind of watered him down, so
Yeah,
that
they made him on the same playing field as the rest of his teammates.
right, so that the rest of the story can be believable. Here, same
Right.
effect, right? He's not the same Superman, and that's the great thing about Crisis as well. They kind of showcase that he wasn't the exact same like the other Superman, like
Right.
Brandon
He's
Routh.
small. He doesn't fit his costume.
He doesn't fit his costume. Brandon Routh, his Superman. That's from I guess the Richard Donner universe, right? That one took him for a spin, man. Like it was crazy.
Took him for a whole ride.
For a whole ride. So like in this one, his powers are a bit more downplayed, and we don't take the spotlight away from Kara because that'd be unfair.
Totally, right? It's her show. Her name's on the show.
Exactly. So it showcases Superman. He comes in to help here and there, but Kara saves the day. So he's just there for a little help here and there. Same thing with the Martian. He comes and goes every now and then, but we don't ever take her, out of the spotlight.
Well, that I am glad to see that even in her own show, she doesn't get silent. Like it continues to be her show for 5 seasons. I know that some other
Yeah,
shows on the CW, like say Flash or
yeah,
Arrow, once
right.
the joining cast comes in and they kind of seat themselves in like a season 2, it starts to not sometimes be the Flash show. It starts to be the Flash and Co. show or the Arrow and Co. show.
Yeah, in that vein as well. I mean, she still has a great supporting cast, but they're not in the same kind of way as like Flash and his Team Flash and Arrow and Team Arrow and the Legends. It's more humans on the playing field with Kara and one or two other heroes here and there who help her out, but they're not an overwhelming. It's got to be Team Flash this week. It's literally just her. She takes care of the bigger things.
Right, she punches the
What
big
else?
monster, but everybody else
She,
does the brains of the operation.
exactly. Great addition, Brainiac 5.
Oh boy, Legion of
Yeah,
Superheroes right up my alley.
yeah. This guy and the guy they have playing him. Geez, I gotta pull up his name again. I had it here, but this guy's amazing. His voice it's almost cartoony, but not
When I
over
watched
the
through
top.
Crisis, seeing
Yeah,
Brainiac and like hear him
like,
talking,
yeah,
super smart words sprinkled throughout, but
yeah.
like it's organic to him, but it sounds odd because we're listening to somebody whose intellect we can't even comprehend truly.
And right, and his voice alone, it's so presentable. Like it's, you know
Blah
what I
blah
mean? Like
blah 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 blah.
it
Like
sounds right.
very matter of fact.
Yeah, it sounds very correct, very right. He's a great actor, man. He carries a scene. They say, a lot of fans are saying season 5 is kind of weakish here and there, and he's been carrying it a little bit, much like how Cisco was carrying Flash for a little bit.
Oh, you
Dare I
mean
say,
vibe?
vibe? Yeah, exactly. Incredibly enough, that guy's he's been holding it together on that show. A lot of people tune in just to hear him be Brainiac 5.
If I didn't
And
have the attention span of a goldfish, I
yeah,
probably would watch just for him. But then they hit me with the, I want to punch the thing, but I can't punch the thing. Why aren't we punching the thing?
yeah, why are we taking care of the thing? Well, I mean, we gotta carry a show for 22 episodes,
And we got to carry a
right?
show for, what is it, 40 minutes?
40 minutes long, and we gotta stretch that out and make it somewhat believable, right?
And I
So,
get it, but like even Supernatural is not that egregious with
yeah,
how they. And I sat through 14 seasons of Supernatural.
and see, I stopped at season 7.
Oh, see, so like when they do the little side talky thing, they are
Hmm.
perfectly aware how much the little side talky thing takes up in an episode,
Yeah.
and they move right the heck along.
Well, in here they stretch it, And some of the narrative, great. Some of the narrative, not so great. Season 5's been saved by John Cryer as he's come in and he's taken over the show as Lex Luthor. I was a little
Well,
iffy on him.
that's the guy from 2.5 Men,
Half
right?
Man, exactly. I was a little bit, a little,
Yeah, once I put that connection together, I couldn't unsee him.
Yeah, but
But then,
what?
then he takes his actions in Crisis. Crisis we won't spoil because it was pretty recent. It
Yeah,
hasn't yet to be collected in any way, so we'll
but
leave that for you. But
he's been, he's been incredibly.
once he really established himself as the villain
Yeah,
during Crisis, oh boy,
he's
does that
been,
man get to carry it away.
yeah, he's been quite good at being conniving. I didn't think John Carter could be like that good at being like an asshole, but he's doing it really well, man. He single-handedly has diverted that show from being kind of like just a passerby to being one of those to watch right about now. I can't really spoil what's going on with the season so far. It looks like he's building up to something really huge, especially after the crisis. So she's kind of employed to him now. So we'll see how that goes on. But he's taken over the DEO, that's the Department of Extranormal Ops, and yeah, she's got to work for him now. So we'll see how that works out.
I might pick it up. It's just from hearing of how like the characters actually interact and
Yeah,
hearing your explanation of why they do the things that they do. I could be convinced to, tune in for the next season or the end of this season when it can come out.
when we can finish it all.
Right. I'm sure some bits edited together, but I don't assume more than that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't believe an episode is already built, ready to go.
No. Everything's got to be on pause. I do know the Hourverse is totally on pause. Sucks in that regards because it kind of halts everything that you were kind of looking
Right. It's
forward
like
to.
coming out of Crisis and then we put a hard stop sign in front of everybody.
Yeah, and we really wanted to see where this was gonna go forward, but I guess we're just gonna have to wait that one out.
But hey, that also gives a whole bunch of writers, because writers can work remotely, like the ability to say, oh, you know what? The more we think about this, the less this might make some sense. So we might be able to pick up where we left off and steer the ship while we're still driving.
You brought up a good thing, a good point too about the interactions between them all, especially coming with the Hourverse. Her, a lot of her greatest work out of her show there, Supergirl, comes from teaming up with Grant Gustin off of Flash. They bounce off each other really well. It's like this girl next door meets the Boy Scout schoolboy next door. You know what I mean? Kind of dynamic.
Right.
They're both so like they have this kind of young naivete about them, almost like a Teen Titan kind of feel to them, right? Like they're so wet behind the ears amongst like like the Legends and Arrow and all that they kind of stand out. And when they work with each other, it's so much more enjoyable than the rest of the shows. I just wish we had like a Supergirl's Flash hour. That'd be a perfect show.
Wouldn't something like that more be accustomed to the crossover that they initially did to introduce
Yeah,
Supergirl?
exactly. So the first one, I think that happens for Flash season, I want to say 3 or 4, and that'd be season 1 for her, or no, sorry, 2 for her. Sorry. Yeah, I can't remember the episode numbers, but yeah, that was their first crossover. Was to I think Flash, of course, doing his thing, slips into a multiverse kind of thing, and then we just get introduced to her, and it was a great way to CW to pull her show in from CBS into CW and say it's
Say,
here
here
now.
she is.
Exactly. And furthermore, now, again, post-crisis, things are so much more different that I
Right,
was
now that
waiting.
we exist all on one Earth and we all get to
Right.
play in the same sandbox.
Exactly. I want to really see things, collide like that. But again, we will have to wait it out. But yeah.
And that sounds like a good...
Well, if I may chime in with just one last question,
Yeah,
because
go
I've
ahead.
been sitting on it for a minute. We've talked about in the past that the way to tell a good Superman story is to focus on the Clark Kent side and the character work over the punchy, bang, bang.
Yeah.
So, Red, what was it for you that didn't work about doing that for Supergirl?
It's that the conversations go on too long,
Mm-hmm.
and once we establish an emotional connection and a way that we're actually like verbalizing that connection, we kind of sit on that connection for a long time in the scene, and it just doesn't sit well with me. I'm like, yes, you understand that you might not like her, but you disagree with her, and or you might like her, you might have romantic feelings, but sometimes the CBS doesn't let us do that, so we're gonna move on.
Yeah.
Oof. So it's
It follows the
how
CW.
long we sit in that scene,
Yeah.
explaining the same emotion and trying to kick us out or trying to kick us back to the fighty plot.
Yeah, it falls prey to that CW curse where I don't know if you've tuned in, but like sometimes scenes on Arrow and Flash are just like an empty argument where the argument just goes on and on and on.
They're
And
like, yes, we have to go punch the villain, but I hate you for punching the villain. Why did you punch
Right.
the villain? I hate you for punching the villain. But I
right.
hate you, but I like you.
But the conversation could have been like 5 minutes shorter, but it's just been prolonged for no reason. It leaves you pulling your hair out. So I know where he's coming from.
Because my biggest issue with the CW verse stuff has always just been I hate how they shoot things. I hate their
Yeah.
camera angles. I hate just whoever's directing their work.
Choppy editing.
It's sitcom editing.
Yeah.
Which is
description,
great
yeah.
if we're watching The Big Bang Theory.
Right.
Alas.
But alas, I don't like that show, and so
Right.
don't watch it.
Okay, thanks for indulging me on that one.
Yeah, no problem. Speaking on that identity, like the Kara side is a great part of that show as well. She really plays off that girl next door
I do
thing.
like some of her interactions
Yeah.
as Kara to other characters.
Yeah.
But because we sit in those scenes for so long,
Yeah.
it hangs.
Yeah, again, like her interactions come with like co-starring with the other heroes. So like her interactions with the other heroes, they're really really well done, especially when she is as Kara, or even when she is Supergirl and she falls prey to being Kara as Supergirl. She forgets that she's a hero at the moment. Those are some really key scenes. So yeah, man, tune in.
I actually just might. Now that, now maybe I might just decide I'm going to speed through some of the talky bits.
Oh yeah.
And while I like the character interactions, don't get me wrong, I would like to see Kara Zor-El talk to Martian Manhunter. I don't want to hear about every life problem they've got and which cup is blue and how is it blue and why do you not like that it's blue.
The glorious thing on Netflix, you can pull scenes and just go where you want to go, right? And just watch what you got to watch.
Totally.
There you go. All right. I guess that wraps it up on my Supergirl talk. You guys have been tuning in and reading stuff on Deadshot, which I'm curious about because I don't know much about him. So inform
Bloodshot.
us. Yeah, Bloodshot, that's it. Bloodshot.
Deadshot, different guy. Yeah, no, we've been reading about Bloodshot because Deadshot is very much a different guy.
Forgive me. There's too many of those. Bloodshot, Deathstroke, Deadshot, this guy. So many names, same moniker.
It gets confusing.
Yeah, someone should really come up with at least some better synonyms instead of just using the same words over and over again.
Yeah.
Or just
Teen
instead of
Titans
using the
decided
shot.
to use Teen Titans decided to use Slade.
Yeah, because I don't think they can market Deadshot to like 10-year-olds, so they had to like not use that.
No.
Sorry guys, Deathstroke the Terminator is not allowed in your kids' cartoon.
But maybe it is. We just don't know yet.
Right.
We haven't tested those markets.
But yeah, with the Vin Diesel movie coming out as it's allowed to via home release kind of things, we decided to look more into who even is Bloodshot. What is this character? It's a Valiant Comics property, so it's not like it's as widely known as, say, any DC or Marvel guys.
And the interesting thing about, besides Bloodshot, Valiant Comics itself, just like a little snippet, it basically has like the third biggest like hero universe compared to, I think, DC and Marvel.
Even over Image.
I think a little bit, yeah. I think I'm not sure if Image is maybe
I don't think
second.
Image crosses over like very often anymore. I know they did back in the day, but now Valiant, like whoever travels with Armstrong, like they cross over with Exo Man of War all the goddamn time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a big world, which is, as a person who doesn't read much from Valiant, I did a lot of background wiki reading for this one.
Right on. Yeah, so tell me about Bloodshot. I don't know anything about this guy at all.
I know he's gray.
Yeah,
He is great, but only sometimes.
I know he has a big old circle on his chest sometimes.
Yes.
Most of the time?
Most of the time? Okay.
It just depends if he's wearing a shirt, really. But
even then, he'll still have the like bleeding circle either way. So like,
yeah,
it bleeds.
Yes.
It's gross.
So what does it bleed?
So the reason for that, from what I was reading, is basically like how he is, or who he is. Basically, is like that he was someone who's being tested on in this like place called Project Rising Spirit. And so when they did the testing of putting, I guess you could say, nanobites or like a super soldier serum in a sense,
Nanites,
the nanites. Basically, while that was being all put in together, part of that red circle is just like, I guess you could say
that's the injection point, basically.
Yes, yeah.
They jabbed him with a giant needle to fill him with itty bitty robots, and that's where they did it. There's
Exactly.
another character later, because he's not the only one this has been done to.
Okay.
And one guy has like a circle on his forehead because that's where he had that situation go down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
and
like that bullseye scene in the Daredevil movie where he licks his finger and there's his symbol.
We don't.
Unfortunate.
But he's not licking his forehead like a maniac, so.
No, thank God, no.
Jeez.
Oh my god, we don't speak of that. Okay, go on.
No.
But to my knowledge,
Yeah.
interestingly, it's a little bit not quite a mantle title, but
Okay.
who Bloodshot is doesn't seem to be consistent across volumes necessarily.
Okay.
So I read the majority of Volume 1, so the
Okay.
1993 release,
Okay,
and
go for it.
then Beastie read the latest stuff on the guy. So
Okay.
what we're going to do is we're going to compare notes, then and now kind of thing for canon.
Mhm.
I mean, let's start off real simple. The Bloodshot I've been reading about's original name was Angelo Mortali, and then he later takes the name Michael Lazarus. Who the heck is yours?
They still mention what was the first name that you mentioned? Was it Angelo or
Angelo.
Mortality.
yeah? So Angelo Metalis. They mentioned that in one of the runs, but then the main name that they kind of stuck with was Raymond Garrison, is what he was going.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a different person.
Yep.
Whoa.
Mortali's backstory is he worked for the Italian mob and was a grade A douche nozzle. He was ambitious and aggressive, and his downfall was that he was engaged to this one mob boss's daughter. He had a girlfriend on the side, and the mob boss's daughter was cool with that. She knew and didn't give a damn.
Oh.
But Mortali made the mistake of bragging about his girlfriend to someone. His fiance's father found out and basically set him up for a fall in that
Okay.
he got arrested for a rather brutal first-degree murder of another rival mobster.
Okay.
And he ended up selling out the mafia to get
Jeez.
into witness protection and get out of, that whole situation.
Okay.
Except the mobsters found out about it and instead kidnapped him from witness protection and sold him to Project Rising Spirit.
Oh shit.
My
Okay.
God.
Yeah.
Come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding, and
I mean, get your money's worth.
And so in the process of getting the Bloodshot procedure,
Yeah.
he loses all of his memories and gets a whole bunch of programming in the nanites.
Oh,
But before they can turn him full on murder machine,
Yeah.
some weird kid shows up and releases him. And this kid doesn't turn up again for another 10 issues.
Pause.
Oh.
Jason Todd, is that you?
Explain, child, please. Who comes in and does what when?
So apparently there are these people called geomancers who talk to the earth, and it is their responsibility to keep things on the right path. And because Mortali has this whole destiny to do shit as Bloodshot, this little geomancer lad turns up, releases him, and then gets in a great deal of trouble.
Wow.
Wait, so I'm gonna put another pause on this one here. Pause again. So,
Yeah.
so I'm guessing he's being held in a facility.
Mm-hmm.
He was,
Right?
yeah.
Okay.
Very briefly.
Very briefly, yes, because this child got in there and released him.
Because this plucky 12-year-old wandered his ass in.
Jesus,
He sure did.
fucking Rick Jones just helps himself and helps, release this monster. Okay, so this kid gets in, releases the murder machine that is Bloodshot.
Yeah.
Go on.
Bloodshot fights his way out. I believe it's been a while since I read that issue because, I binged a lot of comics this week. But I believe he murders the people trying to detain this boy, so the boy just vanishes into the ether for 10 issues until he comes back and he's like, hey, you remember me? And Bloodshot's like, vaguely? Who are you?
Who's this tiny bastard?
Yeah. And then the kid's like, I need you to come do something for me. And he's like, well, actually, I'm kind of in the middle of something. And then he goes off and does his thing and gets arrested, which is just a whole plot line.
Wow. Okay.
Jesus.
But yeah, the whole geomancer thing is related to the big overarching conflict in this volume, which is robots from the future.
Okay, wait. I gotta dial this one back a little bit.
This is some high-level comic crazy.
Yeah. So.
Hey, Beastie, is there any, robots from the future in yours? Because I might like yours better.
Well, here's the thing.
Hold on. I'm still. Pause. I'm still. Hold on.
No. Let's refresh our palettes with whatever's going on in Beastie's books, and we'll come back to my nonsense.
Hold on. I'm gonna put some final notes on this before we come back to this. Okay, so mafia guy, 2 girls, gets fucked over.
Yep.
Sold in black market. High-tech facility. Planeteer comes in, saves him, and then he has to fight Terminators. Pause. Okay. Beastie, your turn.
Yeah. So, mine's not that like all the way messed up or confusing.
Thank God.
Because my version, or I guess the version that they're I think basing the movie kind of off, is the version where Raymond Garrison is basically like he was like a family man. He had like a wife and he had a kid and all that stuff. And I think he was part of the military, I believe. But yeah, they basically had taken him. Like Project Rising Sun was the foundation or the place that took him. Right, took him in. They were like gonna do the whole surgical implant, put nanotech in him, and then while doing that process, he freaking went Wolverine and just mind wiped and forgot who he was. So he didn't go berserk. So he was just like there. He was like, what?
So wait. So the one you're reading is this a reboot?
Yeah.
The reboot I have, yes.
Okay, so this is a reboot.
Yes.
Okay, so lady, we're definitely gonna go back to yours pretty soon because I need to know what the fuck happened to those future robots. Beast,
But
go
like
on.
this reboot sounds great and
Go on.
logical.
It sounds a lot better, trust me.
All right, okay.
So yeah, going from that, like he was obviously set to do like whatever they wanted him to do for the missions. You do this, assassinate this person. The same old assassination, get control over this person with special technology. From that, like later on, he was basically as well like trying to he was trying to get certain memories coming back of like what was real memories of his past life and what was the memories that was implanted in his head.
Okay.
So he was getting a mixture of both, and he was like fighting. Whoa, like I can't really tell what's real. I need to figure this shit out. So same sense, went back to the people who basically indoctrinated him and all that stuff, built him with the nanotech, and was like, fuck all y'all.
Okay.
Explain?
I'm gonna burn this shit, and I need to figure out who I am, because if you aren't explaining, I need to figure this out on my own. Yeah, like in
what
one of the main
say
story arcs.
no?
Well, you'd be surprised.
Yes, they say no.
Exactly. In a snippet of it, yeah. So basically, we're just like, well, we kind of can't give you the information because you're part of ours. You owe us. And I was like, no, fuck you. I'm killing all y'all bitches. And so, yeah, it was a weird kind of like fight of like, I need to figure out the information, but you guys aren't giving it to me. So, like, if you're not giving it to me, I have to kind of go after you guys.
Wait.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
But wait, hold on. But if he kills them,
then how does he deal with the Terminators from before?
Wait, hold on.
That's not.
No. No. We're gonna go back to that soon because I need to know what happened in that future.
Okay.
But in this one here,
yes.
My question is, if he kills them all, who's gonna fucking answer him?
Well, he's gonna like basically trying to see through whoever has the proper answers. You need to stop this. Yeah, he basically while killing obviously through the ranks or figuring out like who has the proper information, he is like obviously searching and like seeding through this
for family.
Stop.
Family, but with murder bots.
Exactly.
I like what you did there.
So yeah, but essentially he's just trying to find out like, okay, who has the proper information? Who can I get to talk? And if nobody's talking, I'll kill you and then go to the next person that has this proper information.
Okay, so we're murdering our way all the way up. Okay, all right, we're taking that murder ladder.
Exactly. Kind of like Deadpooling it, if in a sense.
We're Wolverining this shit right now.
We're John Wicking this stuff.
We're John Wicking the fuck out of it. All right, go on. I just pulled up the character's name here, right? And I'm seeing the Angel Mortali. I'm seeing a whole bunch of stuff here, and it does look interesting in that sense. So, but these storylines are sounding like some.
Can I ask real quick?
Wild.
Yeah. Is your Bloodshot a technomancer?
Oh, like where he can
control technology because he's got robots in his blood? Yes.
Yes. So
cool.
has that same technology. Yeah.
Excuse me. You two did not mention this power beforehand.
Yeah. Wait.
Well, yeah. No. That's the thing. I think we should go over like what can he do in both worlds. So
jump into that, please. Yes. So
Angela Mortali, Bloodshot. He basically the nanites allow him increased control over all of his bodily responses. It ups his healing factors, makes him stronger, makes him faster, that kind of thing. It also makes his eyes go completely red when he goes murder mode, which is a little bit spooky, but we're putting that aside. Overall, it's generalized enhancements, not so far as you would expect. Like, he's not full Wolverine kind of thing. Like, shoot him in the head and he'd probably die, or at least he seems to believe so. But overall, spooky kind of fellow, and everyone is constantly commenting on how fast he is. And then because robot blood, He can
Uh-huh.
control machines around him as long as they're somewhat familiar tech. Like
As long as they still have a dot matrix still plugged in.
well,
Fuck.
basically, he just has issues with the robots from the future, that kind of thing, or like really, really weird tech. He's like, I don't know what to do with that. It's a generalized power set. He's also got all of those skills and like knowledge stuff
Yeah,
downloaded, quote unquote, because there's programming on the little robot. So, BC, what does your Bloodshot do? What can he do?
Well,
Tell me he
mine.
interacts with cell phones.
Jesus. No, he essentially has almost the same things, like obviously of what was listed, but he is like a skilled marksman because of his background. He's able to shapeshift like or camouflage as well.
Okay,
So-
Fucking what?
So, because I'm seeing this on his listing here, when Lady was going over the skill set, she didn't have the shapeshifting here. So I'm guessing in this reboot he has a shapeshifting ability.
Yes, so they mentioned it in. So I think when they did the reboot in the 2012 revamp, when they brought him back, so he was able to get these. He attained these abilities as well. So like it was part of the abilities that they added on to his nanotech. So with the shapeshifting, he essentially can like look in like Mystique, look like someone else or whatever.
Whoa! So he can full on change the entire appearance.
Exactly. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they even keep it in the newest issue for the 2019 run as well. So you see him like while he's doing one of these fights, like getting he was getting an item for like a family and just like I think food sources and
Yeah.
giving it to a family. And then when he came around
Family.
and some other guys was coming around to figure out where he went, they're like, yo, why can't we find him? And then you find out that the sergeant that was trying to find the information grabbed the gun and was like, here, give me the gun, and he just shot his people. And it's like, nope, it was him the whole time. He was right in front of their eyes.
Yeah.
And he shapeshifted real quick.
Wow. Because I'm looking at the listing here. I'm seeing superhuman strength, speed, agility, stamina, reflexes, endurance,
Mm-hmm.
regenerative
Yeah.
healing factor, master hand-to-hand combatant, skilled marksman, shapeshifting, cyberkinesis, camouflage.
Yep.
This guy sounds like Wolverine, Deadpool, and Mystique all in one person.
Exactly. Yeah.
That'd be a good summary. Except he's also kind of a bitch.
That's
Wow.
and, wait, so explain.
He keeps getting into fights all the time, constantly.
Or you have
And
pull into that he's like not trying to
given
get
his
into.
skill set, you'd think that like he'd have this all on lock all the time,
Right.
and yet no. Like he just has a weirdly difficult time with some fights.
Really
And
now?
it's not like, oh, you ever really think he's gonna lose per se. It's more just like you've made this so much harder than it needed to be for yourself.
Okay.
That sounds like my whole life.
It's not entirely his fault. His life is pretty goddamn weird.
Yeah, I'm reading a lot of synopsis here.
So we're
it's all over the
learning.
place. Yeah.
So he works for the CIA for a little bit. He works for
Yeah.
MI5 for a little bit. He goes to just so many hostage exchange type things because
Oh boy.
there's one point where the mob pretend to have his sister, and he's like, oh no, my sister, who I don't remember having, because he doesn't remember anything about his own life at this point, but
Right.
he just takes their word for it that they have his sister.
Sister.
And he shows up, and they've got this lady at gunpoint, and they're going through all the negotiations and stuff. And one guy just like snaps and shoots her, but it turns out she was an actress because he doesn't have a sister.
Well, I mean, when you have amnesia, shit happens. But
Family?
I
Oh my gosh.
I need to know the fucking future robots. What happens
So they're future robots from space, just so we're clear.
from fucking space? Double
Right,
correct.
right,
So
of course they are. Why wouldn't they be?
why
They're
wouldn't
aliens,
they
and they hate organic life forms, and they're here to kill us all and convert the planet into robot land. The seventh robot land, by the way,
Okay.
because they want to rename it. God, I can't remember what they're called. It's like the word malevolent but dumb.
be? Oh,
Yeah,
And-
Omicron Persei 7. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And the whole plot line it was really, really jarring when it first turned up because
okay.
issue 0 isn't narrated by the protagonist. It's narrated by this Fabio-looking motherfucker.
Fabio.
He has magnificent hair.
Magnificent.
Fabio.
I can't believe
But-
it's not Bater.
He's like, oh, it's my job to protect the geomancers, and then he goes through and gives us a crash course in the Mortali's backstory before we even have to really meet him.
Right, and
But-
teaching kids how to break into high-tech facilities.
Yeah, apparently. So he starts just teaming up with Bloodshot, and he's like, yeah, I know he was kind of a dick before, but he's cool now.
Oh.
And then we flash to him 2,000 years in the future.
Huh.
Post-apocalyptic landscape, fighting
Huh.
evil robots and trying to save people. Except, like, it's generally kind of horrifying because all these comics are pretty brutal in terms of what they're showing, what content's going on. like in this future, he stops a robot mid killing a guy, but it had already started to quote recycle him, so the guy is just in agony and begs for death.
Well,
Yeah.
the future is so
So
it's
it's
cool.
the
like
future
the version of Superman, but brutal.
Man.
Yeah.
Well,
So this is the future, and the only like hope of humanity, or the only thing that the robots really fear, is this guy called Rye. And I was like, who the hell is that?
Well, he's
Turns
related
out,
to the guy named Whiskey.
well, it's some Japanese guy, and you're like, who are you? What's going on? Apparently, he has Bloodshot's nanites in his veins.
Okay.
What? Because Bloodshot can kind of share those. He actually does that later for his wife. It's a whole thing. Actually, I can't remember if
Do
they
we
get married. I
wanna
don't think they
know?
get married. It's just her girlfriend.
Okay.
Do we want to
It's-
know how they share?
I mean, he looks. Hold on, I just pulled up a picture. He looks like him.
He does. Well, that's the whole thing. They look the same. It's like, why they're two Valiant Comics characters who existed separately to each other. And they're like, oh no, the designs look kind of similar. We need to explain that or something. So that's what's going on there.
No
And
way.
So the future robots want to kill Bloodshot preemptively, kind of thing.
Right.
But it turns out they're not even the biggest, like the alien robots aren't even the biggest problem, because humanity later creates this whole virus thing that's meant to destroy all nanite technology before evil future robots can become a problem.
Right.
But the issue is they make it out of nanites, so its self-preservation protocols override everything, and it decides to just propagate nanites instead. Volume 1 ends with this future robot coming out of the ice after getting its ass kicked by Bloodshot the first time, and convincing his wife to turn up, and she's pregnant, and it does things to their children, and it's weird. It's really weird, and I'm really glad it explodes.
Huh.
Wow.
You have to murder little robot
Beastie,
children things.
Is your comic make more sense?
I hope so.
I mean,
Stop. Because she just spoke of Robot Jesus. Okay.
She didn't just speak of Robot Jesus. She spoke of Robot Jesus banging
Robot Jesus
Wasn't great.
and his disciples. Listen.
and his descendants.
There's no other greater story than this now. You understand? We had a robot Jesus. It's over. Okay. So what Beastie, what does your robot Jesus do?
Well, there was a lot from that, so I'm just trying to recreate that version of it.
No, we all need a second to absorb that.
Listen, man, it's a fucking tough act to follow after that. That's that's something else altogether.
Yeah,
man.
we don't even know how Valiant continued, let alone how you're going to continue.
Like go on. Tell me what did your robot Jesus version do?
So he's done a lot of different things in obviously his run or current run, as you could say. But from what I remember, or from what I've read from the stories, one of the main like big things that he did was he went to essentially after facing the Rising Spirit Corporation, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He dealt with those guys, and there was a place as well too that was dealing with some kids that are called like the Harbinger. So this story arc is called the Harbinger Wars.
Right.
But basically, what a Harbinger is that there was like basically superhuman telekinetic kids, or like essentially kids that were being tested on and taken in if they had the abilities and all this stuff.
Right.
So it's like in a rough sense to like Logan, where like the X-Men or mutants were being tested on in facilities. So in a sense, it's like that. But so he basically goes back and it's like, okay, we gotta freaking get these kids out of here, save them, because we don't want them to turn into corrupt little fighting soldiers and all that stuff.
Right.
But he's then also in the middle of like another team that's trying to get them and bring them to their side, and it's a whole shit show. This man is just like, I'm trying to save these kids, man. Like, and then he's
trying to go ultimate dad, but alas,
he's basically trying to be like, I'm doing it for family. Which yes, Red, yes,
family.
In a sense, but yeah, he's like, he doesn't want these kids to like grow up corrupt or anything. So just bring them to the proper side of like humanity and what a proper superhero is in a sense.
Okay.
But yeah.
So this one's less Robot Jesus and more Robot
Vin
Dad.
Diesel, yeah, got it.
Yeah.
It's like, more like a coherent storyline.
Yeah.
Oh wow, imagine those.
Listen, but lady, what you read, okay?
It was a ride.
It's the greatest fucking story of all time, man. Because nothing beats Mafia guy, the whole shebang, future Robot Jesus shooting things, and like, if you can make that a poster, I swear to God, it'd be scantily clad women at his ankles as he's holding a gun to the air. And
rest assured, there's a lot
Nukem.
of scantily clad women in this story.
I'm pretty sure there is. It's Valiant Comics. It's the 90s. I mean, why wouldn't there be? That's how you.
There were two naked women in the first 4 pages. Okay.
That's quick.
I mean, that's how you sell
Yeah.
stuff. That's how you
Were
sell
they cute
stuff.
though?
It was dark. I don't know.
I
It was
mean,
mostly just womenly outlines, and I was like, ah, yes, horny men
women.
wrote this.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
Nudity in a comic.
Ah, yes, women.
Beastie, what are his primary opponents? Because my guy fights. Actually, like initially, it's mostly mob guys, and then suddenly there's just occasional people with superpowers that turn up from seemingly nowhere.
any
Most of
any
the time, there
any
was a
notable
ninja in the jungle who was kind of cool.
any
No.
notable ones? Like any big time ones? Any like arch rivals?
It's more or less for me. It was more just like different corporations, like and just different enemy teams in a sense.
Okay.
Like,
What do you
so
mean by
that's
enemy teams? Like what? Like
so like how do I explain it? Not like
Like, are
'cause,
the enemies of other Valiant heroes the same thing? Do they tie in all together cohesively?
so in some arcs there'll be like points of where like other storylines will be tying in and he's part of it. There'll be some enemies of like that situation where he has to deal with those enemies, but in a sense of like what I'm saying in like corporations is like what's what I said with Rising Spirit or the Harbinger people trying to get the other like tested kids. In a sense it's like it's mostly those will be like the main villains that you'll be seeing or like
Ah,
dealing with.
so
So
it's
he's
just
kind
so
of going site to site and rescuing some children.
that in a sense
So
or
he's
he'll be
fighting the ABCs.
yeah, in a sense. But
Right.
and other storylines would be either just like him continuing on to figure out who he really was, just like get his memories back, all that stuff. But at some point, he does do that. Like he gets the memories, he gets the folder that has
has his
everything,
memories in it.
all
Okay.
all there, like ready to go. But at the same point, later on, with one of the other heroes that's part of the Valiant team, he gets cured of the, I guess, Bloodshot.
Remember which hero?
Nanotech.
Is it X?
He gets denanited.
Yes, that's what it was. And
Okay.
her name I think was Kay. I think is what the name that she went by. So he got cured from that, and then from like the basically. So in the fight that happened there, after he got cured, she got killed off, and it was like,
Okay.
oh, okay, well, fuck, it was my problem that this happened, and dude went to a recession of like literally. I'm gonna compare it to Logan because this is like as close as it gets. Like,
Right.
he basically went to like the depression sense of like start drinking alcohol, was like doing this whatever mundane things like to just survive and keep quiet out of like public scenery. But then there is the situation where like, oh, why does that person look exactly like me but not really, and why do they have my abilities? What the hell's going on? And so he has to fight not copies but like some other people that have been nano tested as well.
Mhm.
So he has to deal with that and basically like, hey, I gotta get rid of these guys before anything goes haywire, and they're not able to control the nanotech because with him, he's had it for so long and he was able to control it to basically a masterful degree. With these other guys, like if it was going too deep into, I guess, the cerebral brain or like the cerebral sense or like just messing up with their body function and they didn't know how to control it right, they would just be murdering people left and right, no matter what the cause. And he basically had to go figure out what was going on, went to deal with these other guys, and like had to retract the nanites back into his system. When he got cured, he did basically lose the whole nanites in a sense, but he technically still kept certain abilities with him.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like I said, going back to this, he had to come back and kind of
So they kind of downplayed him a bit more, doused him in a bit more of kind of a open quotation, close quotation, real world kind of feel to him, right?
Yeah,
Made him
so
gritty.
exactly. So they made him
yeah.
more like like kind of Red Hoodish, like just not like be aggressive and save people, but at the same time like murdering people left and right.
Well,
But
Okay.
not as much like with robots coming from like out of space and just
I mean, I played up the robot angle a lot because it was just this
The
looming
most-
thing throughout the series, and also
Mhm.
like every time it turned up, I was super thrown off. But we did get some. There is a lot of the oh wow, the project wants him back. Obviously, they put
Yeah.
money into him, and
Yeah.
they do try and create other ones. So there was also some extent of oh wow, look at these other weird white red-eyed people who are just
Oh,
not quite
so
as good at this, and
so
they're referred to as speed shots instead because the process didn't work and they're crazy. And it becomes a whole thing that the successful people who also have nanites were a part of some genetic experiment years earlier, where all the other ones who go crazy are just like random schmucks, and no one worked just as well as our boy because he's special, the chosen one kind of thing.
He's Jason Bourne. I get it now.
He's the perfect specimen.
Yeah, okay, I get it now. That still sounds cool, but I do want the Robot Wars. That's a future I want to see. If they ever go back to that Volume 1 Robot Wars, make it happen. I want to read it. I mean, don't get me wrong, Beastie, yours sounds cool too, right?
Yours
Yeah,
sounds
you
like
know
a modern comic that's good.
But-
Exactly, and it
yeah.
basically toned it down.
But Babby Shino wants the robot wars and all, the naked boobies and all the guns and stuff. That's what I want. So, like, that world, bring it back. Valiant, bring that
Murder,
world
robots, titties.
back. Yeah, just bring that back. Just bring it all back.
I like
There's a
Beasties
lot of violence.
because it features probably features like Faith and X Man of War and that other dude in Armstrong, and kind of wraps them all together and makes sure that they are all tied together with a pretty bow, that they're all in the same universe.
Speaking of, in your runs, was there any team ups?
That ninja in the jungle I mentioned, I think his name was Ninjak or
I read it.
something.
Jack.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think he's a broader character. His whole like girlfriend, wife person, her hero-y name is Death Angel for a while.
That's the most badass name I've ever heard.
Death
It's
Angel
pretty
is
cool.
pretty rad, pretty rad. Ninjak looks fucking cool.
Yes.
Can we get this fucking movie? I want this movie.
So, fun fact: there was a Ninjak movie. It had Jason David Frank in it, and it was
Yes.
basically a fan film.
Yeah, I
And it
know.
never got off the ground.
I've seen only clips. I've never actually watched the thing.
Yeah, don't.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Say no more.
So there's like some brief crossovers. He runs into people every now and then in mine, but nothing big. Or if it was, I'm not familiar enough with Valiant Comics to have noticed.
To be like, oh yeah, it's a big shit. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give
What
it a
about you,
look over.
Beastie?
Yeah, for mine, honestly, the main comparison will be like Ninjak actually, because like in a few of the story arcs, you'll mostly see him and Raymond Garrison or like our current Bloodshot working together. So in some storylines, you'll see them mostly coming together and working alongside each other, trying to figure out whatever the problem is or whatever situation is that's going on. Then that's
And
the main
honestly,
team up.
I'm still not over how so much of your guys' plot was, oh, who am I? How do I know my old life? Whereas freaking my guy learns who he was. Again, first 10 or so issues go, oh, he was a dick. I don't want to be him anymore. And picks a new name.
Oh jeez.
Right.
Oh, this was me. Oh, forget this.
That guy sucked. I don't want to be him.
Yeah.
That's literally how it goes.
Well,
Good
all right.
That's so interesting.
I mean, it's one way to go about it.
Some parallels could be drawn there from what me and Shino just talked about, like with Supergirl, of like a true change in identity
Yeah.
about who someone is and who they choose to identify as,
Yeah,
and what self-worth really means.
That's
Mhm.
very much it. Yeah.
it's a shame it focused on space robots instead of talking about that.
Right?
Lady, it was the 90s, okay? Robots and ultra violence and boobies were the thing, okay? That's what sold things. This is what I want. This is how I can show you a whole closet of my comic books from the 90s, and all of them are absurd on the covers, okay?
I got a
Completely
question.
absurd. Yeah.
Are boobies still not a thing?
I mean, they are a thing, but they were a big thing in the 90s, man.
We'll just have to take your word for it on that one, I think.
Yeah, because the rest of us weren't alive then, so.
So, Beastie, at the end of the day, now that
Yeah.
you've read that, and the 2019 run's incomplete, right?
Yeah, so the 2019 run is still going. The recent issue was, I believe, issue 7.
Mhm.
So that was the recent one that had released, I think, just a couple weeks ago. But otherwise, yes.
Would you keep reading?
That's hard to say because like there is a lot from this like new run. So if it is interesting, but like as a general consensus, I would say yes. I'll look into it more just to see how it goes.
Okay.
He's saying it's a fresh start, it's a complete reboot.
Mhm.
So nothing from Crazy Robot Wars doesn't apply, right?
No.
Darn.
No crazy robots up in this piece.
So it's completely new. It's a completely new story. On a rating, what would you give it? Yeah.
I'd give it like a 7.5, like a good 8, if anything.
7.58. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and it holds true to what a Bloodshot should be doing, right?
Yeah, from because like the newest issue by Tim Seeley, I believe,
Yeah.
from 2019, he essentially it is kind of like a little revamp, but not too much because he's still pulling from the 2012 certain storylines, but
Okay.
it's just kind of like a new like story, I guess.
Okay.
But everything is still true to what it is, and so it runs pretty smoothly from what I was reading.
All right, and lady,
Yes.
you're Super Robot Wars. Okay.
Yeah.
In
Your
the
rating.
volume 2, would you
Yeah.
still read it?
Would
I mean, there is a volume 2, is the thing.
Yeah.
Because volume 2 came out in 1997,
Mhm.
and I did not have time to read that one as well this
No
week.
problem.
But I might read volume 2. But if I'm gonna watch the movie, I probably need to go check out the modern stuff, or I will
Yeah.
be super confused.
Well,
I'd
you
give
know
it-
what? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd give it a 7, I think,
7.
because it's not the kind of thing I would have picked up for myself. Certainly,
How are you reading it?
I was reading it via Comixology, I believe.
Right on. I want to check it out because I want to see where the Robot Wars progress to. So I got to check it out.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Thank you.
And with that, we've reached the end of another issue.
That's right. So
Steve,
until
why
next
don't you tell
time-
us where they can find us?
People can find us on Twitter at Crusade Nerd. Our Instagram is Nerd Crusade, and as well on our YouTube channel, Nerd Crusade.
And that's going to be to be continued.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this issue, go ahead and button mash the thumbs up. If you want to swing by when we have a new video, web up the subscribe button on YouTube or anywhere you can to listen to our podcast. And to be updated to know when a new issue is out, hit the bell to be notified by